Hey everybody, and welcome to the little orientation session to introduce you all to the My Practice Plan class. And I'm sorry, I had a little technical problem logging in here, so hopefully you all can see me and this is functioning properly. You know what would help is if someone could just raise their hand to make sure that my sound is working, and when you could just raise your hand up, and I know that. Oh, thank you, Royce. All right, great. Okay, so a bunch of announcements and things, to kind of get you guys oriented to what's happening here. So, about 2 years ago, the Institute for Functional Medicine decided that they wanted to really promote the idea of practice implementation. And when they looked at their organization, they realized that they do a great job of academic education and research and how to get people introduced to the ideas of functional medicine, but they wanted to have someone lead up a practice implementation course. And so rather than designing the course from scratch, they looked around at the world out there of functional medicine, and they analyzed every single one of the practice management type training programs. And a panel of IFM doctors decided to go with the Kalish Institute and to partner with me in delivering this joint collaborative effort. And I'm really excited about it. It's been probably one of the greatest professional privileges of my career to be on the IFM faculty. I'm now speaking at every one of their conferences in the evening sessions for practice implementation. And I've gotten to meet and hang out with the best doctors in our field. And it really has been a kind of career capper for me professionally. And the class has, done really well. So we spent about a year with a team of IFM doctors going through my training program and adjusting it and making it sort of a little bit more robust. And then we launched in January of this year, the first group of my practice plan. And we've had, maybe 50, 60 doctors go through the class so far. And it's gotten rave reviews. People really get a lot out of it. In fact, one of the groups that we started earlier this year just wrapped up yesterday morning. And it's kind of sad, when the program is over. People get a lot out of it, and there's a lot of camaraderie that's built up during the training program, and it's really a platform I think that is quite exceptional. It's very much an emotionally transformative experience for people as well. It's more than just a class. It's, like, just to give you an example, yesterday at it was the last class again for this other group, and, the doctors are saying things like, I'm finally charging the amount of money that I'm worth. And, I'm making just better business decisions and life decisions in general. It's more than just learning about how to do a balance sheet. It's more about, us understanding how we can operate as practitioners in a healthcare environment and a healing environment and be business people that can make a profitable go of it with your practice. And so there's an ethical, moral, you know, friendly way that you can run a business and be very profitable and very successful and help a lot of people. And I think one of my central tenets in doing this work, and something certainly that's been reinforced with my work with IFM, is that we're all in this as a movement for social change. There are no functional medicine doctors that are trying to get rich. That just doesn't happen. But you can't lead a movement for social change without financing it, right? Every revolution has to be financed. And so, you need to have a solid, stable practice, and you need to have a good work-life balance in order to really push the needle forward for our entire profession. So I see, again, if we're trying to lead a movement for social change, we have a social responsibility to our patients and to the people that we hire to work in our clinic to make a go of it from the business perspective so you can be successful. And that's really what this class is about. I was also joking with one of my old friends today, maybe not that funny, but the newer practitioners coming into functional medicine often have little or no business background at all. And so it can be a real struggle for them to figure out how to make the business part work. And that's really what this class is designed to do. So we talk about financial planning, business planning, sales, marketing, operations. There's a huge 7-hour section in the last module on legal. And I teamed up with an attorney, Michael Cohen, not the Michael Cohen that's famous now, but the Michael Cohen who's an integrative healthcare attorney. And Michael was, I think, the only attorney to hold a faculty position at Harvard Medical School. Yeah, that's right. 5 years at Harvard Medical School as a faculty, as a lawyer, helping Harvard and the university systems in all the hospitals and everything figure out how to incorporate integrated medicine into their different venues, and now he's sort of left academia to pursue a career helping small practitioners like ourselves. So anyways, we have really great legal content that Michael and I put together that's curated really well. And then the rest of the class, so he teaches the legal module. Again, there's 7 hours of material from Michael Cohen. And then the rest of the training program is me, and I teach all the live calls. Although we're looking at bringing in some esteemed faculty for early next year. We may be attracting some other faculty to help me co-teach. But for now, I teach all the calls, I teach all the classes myself. And so the way that the format works is there's a curriculum that spreads out throughout the 4 months. So each week you have videos and assignments that you watch and listen to. And then there are a live weekly webinar, kind of the same format as we're doing right now, where we're all online together. But instead of having some PowerPoints on the screen, I'll have your assignment on the screen. So Dr. Jones has done a business plan, and she'll tell us about all the details of it, and we'll have a discussion around the business plan. And when we do financial planning, you submit your financial plan, and we discuss it as a group. And we really, in the group discussion weekly calls, it's really the assignments are kind of a jumping off point for us to have frank discussions about money and what you feel like you should bill, and what EMR systems are the best, and do you need to hire somebody, what are you going to do about firing somebody, all the nitty-gritty stuff that goes on when you're running a functional medicine practice. And so there's the basic curriculum that lays out over the 4 months, there's the live weekly calls, and then there's also the community feature, which is a rather robust world. It's almost like an internal Facebook that I've been working on for about a dozen years. And this is just an example of what the community looks like. So in the community, you can communicate with other practitioners. In the community, we have hundreds of hours of really relevant materials. So like, for example, there's a whole hour in there on how to hire people. There's a whole hour in there on how to fire people. There's more hours than you could probably ever listen to about what's the best EMR. We have all kinds of practitioners, including myself, that talk about sales and marketing strategies. We have PowerPoints that you can use that are already developed if you want to go out and do some talks. We have just hundreds and hundreds of hours of really well curated content. And each week I add more to it. So it could be anything from, legal advice to, how to private label supplements, how to send out emails in a stream that's going to work to maintain your practice. It's a pretty intense piece of software that I built here. So there's basically 3 components that you get when you buy the class. There's the curriculum, which goes in a linear fashion, like a textbook or like any other online course. And again, that covers the subjects of business planning, financial planning, sales, marketing, operations, and then legal. So that's the basic curriculum. You have the live weekly calls, which I think is the best part of the class for a lot of practitioners. There's a lot of breakthroughs that happen, and a lot of crying that goes on, and a lot of discovery that happens in the live calls, because it's the whole money issue is a very emotional one for a lot of us, and it just provokes a lot of stuff for people. And then we have the community itself and all the resources, all the discussions, and all the hundreds of hours of curated video that I've saved for you guys. Everything from like how to run an online dispensary to, what lab companies and supplement companies, how to negotiate better, rates with companies, all this kind of stuff that you need to run the business. And then whatever questions come up during the time of the course or things that are specific to you, you can ask, in class, which is really nice. And all the classes are recorded and then posted for you to listen to later or watch later. So if you miss a class or two, it's not a big deal. And you can also go back and listen to all the old classes. And there's so many practitioners that we've worked with now, not only in the last year with the IFM collaboration, but also there's a lot of older videos in here from the work that I've done prior to the IFM collaboration, going back maybe, gosh, at least a half a dozen years. So there's a lot of material. It's almost like a world unto itself of really practical business advice. And so what's happening with the Institute for Functional Medicine now is that we're working on, for those of you that are familiar with IFM, I think most of you probably are, they have their modules, and then they have their week-long group meetings, the AFMCP. And so I've been laying out a whole year-long curriculum with IFM as well. So for each one of these modules and AFMCPs, we have a 90-minute recorded session that we've done on stage with various IFM practitioners. And that is going to also be curated into a program as well. So we're really, I think, between the Kalish Institute and IFM, we're really trying to develop all the practice implementation tools that you all need to get a practice up and running. And what we're seeing as sort of a systemic failure, I think, in the industry is practitioners that are passionate about this work and really want to do the work, but can't figure out how to make it happen, you know, from a very practical nitty-gritty standpoint. And whether that means not understanding how to set up a credit card machine, how to get a bank loan, you know, what kind of clinic space that you want. We really want to prevent you from making all the common mistakes. And so now, this is not to put anybody down, but just to do a reality check. Every IFM event that I speak at, there's at least 3 or 4 practitioners that come up to me with just the most horrific stories. This last event, and I've heard this same story so many times. You know, this poor woman, she rented an office in a very, very fancy part of California, and she's spending like $11,000 a month on rent, but she hasn't even set her clinic up yet. Another one of these doctors I talked to a few months ago, incredibly bright woman. You know, she got a medical degree from UCSF. She did some kind of internship, long-term project at Harvard Medical School. These are like elite, very, very intelligent human beings, and no common sense when it comes to business. She spent over $5,000 redoing the floors of her clinic, and she had to borrow the $5,000. Patients don't care what the floors look like in your clinic. So another classic example we had in our last group, we had 2 practitioners in the last group that IFM sent us that were about to pull the trigger on $5,000 to $10,000 videos for their website. And we had an assignment that we did. This was, I think, kind of a spontaneous thing, you know, but I'm going to make it part of the class, where everybody had to film their own video for their own website as an assignment, and 2 or 3 minute videos that you can put on your homepage. And they were so well done, these practitioners, with us, you know, basically with an iPhone and a little tripod, just, you know, speaking earnestly and authentically about what their experience is and what they want to do, that both of those doctors ended up dropping the whole, you know, expenditure of the video and using that those resources for other things and putting up on their own websites videos that they shot on their own. You don't have to spend $5,000 to do a website homepage video. You can do it from your iPhone. So practical stuff like that, we really want to help save you from making these, you know, really critical business decisions that can go bad. The reason why we included Michael as the legal advisor is because many, many practitioners in their first year of practice make bad decisions that come back to haunt them later that are legal related. They sign contracts that they shouldn't. They sign leases that are, you know, going to get them in trouble. They don't set up patient agreements properly. They don't exit from, you know, insurance companies properly or exit from Medicare properly. And there's a lot of HIPAA related issues. So we really want to make sure that, you know, part of your moving over into the functional medicine space is, you know, free of any legal stress, free of any financial ruin that you might generate from yourself. And I don't know, at this point in my career, I think, you know, I've helped build over 1,000 practices, you know, and I think I have a pretty good sense of, you know, the most common mistakes that people make. And this class is basically really designed to help prevent that, you know, from happening. Um, so now there's a couple questions that have come in. Let me answer them, and feel free to type in questions if you have more questions. The first one from Royce here is, do we have access to all this for only the 4 months or forever? So with this class, you have access to the entire curriculum when you first sign up, and you have access to the actual video recordings and the curriculum itself for the rest of your life. Well, we say lifetime access, and I wonder, honestly, based on my Taoist teacher, I don't know if that's my lifetime or your lifetime. I think it's my lifetime, because I think if I'm dead, this thing might stop. So you have access for my lifetime. And I'm supposed to be 144 years old. I'm 54 now, so that probably gives you, I don't know, do the math, 80, 90 years, something like that. You have a long time. Please look at this, probably longer than you want. And then what you don't have access to forever are the weekly calls. And those are limited to 4 months. And if you like the weekly calls and you want to stay on and do them for longer, then we charge $199 a month, and you can be on the weekly calls and ask questions and submit stuff as long as you want, okay? So basically, it's lifetime access to the lectures, and then 4 month access to the live calls. And if you're welcome to stay around, a lot of people stay around. They take some of my other courses. There's all kinds of other reasons to stay around. We're going to have a lot of new offerings in 2019 as well. Um, let's see, other question here. In terms of practitioners, yeah, so the types of practitioners, we have nurse practitioners, medical doctors, osteopaths, chiropractors, acupuncturists, naturopaths. Those are the main groupings. Um, it's a mix of all professionals. There's some different legal issues with each of you that can vary by state or by licensure. So there's no one set formula, but the basic principles of building a business and building a practice would be similar regardless of what your license is. Um, let's see. Next question. Oh, so for this is a collaborative effort with IFM, but it's my own platform, so it's not actually conducted by IFM, although we're sort of partnered together on this. But I do all the teaching myself, and so you're really kind of buying into the 4 months of the Kalis Institute program. Let's see. Oh, when do we start? So there's a class starting next week, and then there'll be in 2019, if you don't join us for next week, we'll have somewhere around 3 or 4 start dates, depending on how the year lays out. I don't think we have the exact dates laid out yet, but there's basically a new class starting every couple 3 months, every 3 or 4 months. Let's see. There's one more question from Eileen. Do we adjust charting? So I don't know if I can tell you this yet, but I'm going to. This always gets me in trouble. I have a how can I say this delicately? In 2019, there's going to be some additions to the Kalis Institute faculty, and we're going to address some of these MD, DO, NP related issues more directly that have to do with the medical practice side of this. This is not what my practice plan is. So my practice plan is very much not about how to chart properly, although we can certainly connect you. Usually when I get a question like that, that's not really part of our curriculum. If you're having struggles with charting, there's probably 8 or 10 medical docs that are in our group that would be more than happy to sit down with you on the phone for an hour and step you through it. And it's very much you're coming into a community of like-minded people, and all the senior practitioners that have been doing this for a few years want to help people that are starting. So if you have a question like about charting, you have a specific question about medical practice that's not part of the actual course curriculum, it's part of my job to connect you with another practitioner who can advise you. And that could be medical doctor to medical doctor, or nurse practitioner connecting to a nurse practitioner, or connecting the chiropractors to other chiropractors. We have everyone, and basically I've been doing all the teaching for 13 years, so I know pretty much everybody that's gone through the class, and I'll try to connect you with, I don't know, if you're like a Manhattan-based medical doc and you have a question about New York something, I'll connect you with one of our other New York Manhattan-based medical docs. That's part of what we offer, okay? Let's see, what else? Yeah, we do have a bunch of osteopaths. Maybe I misspoke because someone says that, yeah, well, we have osteopaths for sure that are in the class. I kind of separate them out, because I don't know, just because their names are the number, the lettering is different after their name. But I understand that, yeah, osteopaths basically function as MDs. And we have some osteopaths in the training program that are doing structural mechanical work, and most of the DOs that we work with probably are just in more conventional, traditional medical practices. Let's see if there's any other questions you guys have. It's a pretty fast-paced class. The assignments and the video and the lessons and the live call together, we're going to take, I would say, at least 3 or 4 hours a week of your time. You can spend a lot more time on this if you want to. In that we have like literally hundreds of hours of materials that you can review, but it's not necessary. Most of the people taking this class are quite busy in practice, have children, spouses, and not a lot of free time. So we're trying to make this as efficient as possible so you can get things done relatively quickly. But so on average, people are going to spend, I'd say 3 to 5 hours a week maybe on the overall work. And that's going to be a combination of filling out the assignments and thinking about them, the live call that's once a week for an hour, and then watching the lessons and videos. If you're at a space in your life where you don't have young kids and you have a lot more free time, you can certainly put a lot more into it and get a lot more done in terms of the actual training class itself. The other thing that I would say is that, part of the class content is really good and helps people dramatically. But a large part of, I think, what makes this an extra special thing is that, it's a group-led sort of peer-to-peer education, I guess they call it peer-to-peer learning, where you're hearing each week about the struggles of the other practitioners and what they're doing and how they're building their practices. And, you learn a lot from people that are at your level that are kind of dealing with the same things. And I think we have, at this point, the senior practitioners that are in the community that are wanting to give back, and you'll see a lot of them doing talks that I've recorded that are part of the additional materials that you get. You see brand new people that are coming in that want to kind of brainstorm and share ideas with people. And you see people who are maybe like a year or two ahead of where you are. Maybe you're just starting your practice in the next 3 to 6 months, and this person's been in practice for a year or two that can really relate to you and help kind of guide you through a lot of the emotional processes and a lot of the logistical stuff that they went through. The very first part of the class is about understanding what your purpose is and where you want to go with this work, because I find that a lot of people end up in a practice that they didn't necessarily intend to be in. They end up in a practice that isn't exactly what they wanted. And if you talk to most of the people that have been doing this kind of work for 10 to 20, 20 to 30 years, you'll find that all of us have ended up at some point in a practice that wasn't really what we wanted because we didn't do the proper planning. And a lot of this class involves, just planning, so that you end up with the result that you really want. Figuring out how to value yourself and your time, how to charge, how to make the numbers work. And the trajectory for most functional medicine practitioners is economically bleak, basically. I hate to say that, but it's true, because it's like this kind-hearted group of people. They give away their services as much as they can for free, and they don't look at the economic model at all. And so practitioners end up burning out. Most practitioners last 10 or 12 years before they hit that burnout, and then they're not much use to patients at all. So we really want to try to get over that and figure out how you can plan for a successful practice so you can be doing this for a long time and not have these, kind of predictable hurdles that are going to trip you up. Let me see here. If you guys have any more questions, just fire away here. And let me see. I think we have one more slide. Oh yeah, here we go. So class is starting soon. We really try to be sure that you're in the right class and that it's going to work for you. The worst thing is if we take in a student and it's not an appropriate class. To that end, I'm happy to speak with you directly one-on-one. Sometimes that helps, and sort through if this is the right class for you or not. And we're only, again, we're not like an elite institution, but I only want people coming into the training program who are going to get a lot of benefit from it and are going to contribute to the other people. And so we have, an appropriately matched group of people that take this class generally. We're not just trying to sell it to everybody in some kind of high volume thing. That's just not how it works. I actually spend a fair amount of time with every student, and I don't want to waste my time on someone who's not interested in this stuff or who's kind of vague about what they're doing. And it's really got to be someone who's motivated and is ready to do a practice for real. And another comment, I work in London, England with this program Help. Yeah, we have tons of people from, well, the group that we just finished up, Singapore, China. Do we have anyone in the UK? I can't remember, but I've had many students in the UK. We have a lot of Australian and New Zealanders right now. I don't know why, but you hear that accent on the phone every class. So yeah, the legal module, is American oriented. So it's not going to be really that relevant, but the rest of the class will be. And that's, 1 out of 7 of the modules. For those of you that are practicing in the UK that are under the national health insurance, I think the American legal stuff probably doesn't relate as much. Do you have suggestions on making the practice less patient-oriented? There are other ways of reaching patients without one-on-one. Oh yeah, so probably the hippest, coolest thing that people are trying to figure out now is how to do group classes, how to do group sessions, how to do things online. I mean, that's pretty huge. And people do that for a variety of reasons. You know, you can leverage your time better if you can do things in groups. And that's certainly, I'd say there's almost like a movement within functional medicine to do that. Plus, a lot of the stuff that we do is repetitive. Like if you're going to give a talk or tell a patient about gluten-free and why that's important, or an elimination diet, why that's important, maybe it's just as effective to do it on a Wednesday night at 7 and have 25 people listening to you versus saying that same thing 25 times. So that's definitely something we could talk about. Um, you know, figuring out how to do, you know, packages or groups. There's also a lot of interest in some practitioners on doing membership models and those kinds of things. Um, is there going to be an update to the module list? For example, the assignment due date list does not correlate with our schedule. Oh yeah, we haven't updated it yet. Um, that'll be done before class starts. Yeah, so if you're looking at some of the materials, it may be from the group that just finished up, but we'll have a fresh thing going and before the 17th. We've been a little busy. I guess I just got back from IFM and my staff's a little super busy right now. Let's see, but we'll get all that done by next week. Yeah, just so you know, as Royce was asking that question, basically, you know, there's a series of assignments that you do, and there's some that are super important and some that are a little less important. And I think a large part of the class is kind of, you know, giving you information and then I wouldn't say forcing, but encouraging you to interact with the materials and then submit stuff so we can have discussions around it. And I think a lot of the business planning and thinking process for all of us that are entrepreneurial happens in the context of an assignment. In other words, you know, you have to have a specific reason to start to think about these things. Otherwise, what will happen is your practice will just kind of happen to you. So a lot of this is really oriented around the planning process and understanding what your goals are. And let's see, Eileen had a question about monetizing group classes. Yeah, well, you can get the most leverage in terms of, you know, your hourly rate by doing group classes. If you get, I don't know, let's say a typical thing where maybe you have 20 people that come for your Wednesday night class. I'm just getting out a little calculator here and you can see. And there's 20 people and let's say you do, I don't know, a 30-day, you know, detox cleanse program, right? And they meet once a week on Wednesdays. And I don't know, those things typically sell for, let's say, $200. So it's $200 to the patient for a 30-day detox. The supplements are extra, you know, you make a fortune from selling the supplements. But let's just say in terms of your fees, you're charging $200. You get 12 people to take your detox class. It's $2,400, and it takes you 4 hours of work. So that's about $600 an hour for your time. And then on the supplement side, you probably make, well, let's see, a typical detox supplement program is probably another $200 worth of supplements, right? So, yeah, you'd make another $1,200 from the supplement sales. So yeah, you can leverage so what is that? That's like about $1,000 an hour. You can probably make $1,000 an hour if you do groups of small groups of like 12, where you're really doing something impactful. Now, some patients we did, I did a study with the Mayo Clinic 2 years ago. And so the story behind that is about 8 years ago, a group of 5 doctors, nurse practitioners from the Mayo Clinic took my training program, not this class, but the mentorship class I teach. They wanted to learn how to read functional medicine labs and stuff. So anyways, we had all these Mayo Clinic practitioners in the class for a while, and then 2 or 3 of them decided that they wanted to do a research study on the Kalish method, and that was pretty exciting for me. So we finally got the funding and did the study, and we took 25 women and put them through an adrenal and GI protocol that I teach in my training program, and then monitored the whole thing over 6 months. And one of the things that we were doing, because it's the Mayo Clinic and everything was tracked so carefully, was, you know, trying to, what do you call it, like standardize the delivery of the educational materials, so it wasn't different for everybody, you know. And so we did group classes, and I think we had the women divided into 4 groups, so it was about 6 women per group. And you know, it was really interesting because I had never done group classes and monitored it in any way in my practice, but it was really interesting to watch the Mayo Clinic study women as they went through. They really loved the groups, you know, and it gave them people to talk to outside of the regular nutritional consultations that they could share stories with. There was a lot of mutual support within each group, and I was really shocked about the results that we got were so much better by not doing one-on-one nutritional counseling, which I had done my whole career, and by doing these little groups. And they felt like they were kind of in it together, and they wanted to support each other. And I don't know, maybe they would call each other before they'd have a piece of chocolate cake or something, So there was like this kind of camaraderie that happened in the group that I think made the nutritional education more impactful. So yeah, you can definitely do groups from a financial perspective, and then also from a just patient compliance, patient satisfaction perspective. I think you can do really well too. Now, insurer covering classes, I'm not sure about that. I am not an insurance guru at all. I've always been all cash. And so we do have, however, insurance resources within IFM and the toolkits that they've built. So if you have a lot of insurance related questions, I can refer you over to the various IFM toolkits that they have built for that particular purpose. Okay, they've got some good materials on that. Let's see, are there any more questions? I think you guys are pretty good. The class has a couple options. You can pay in full upfront, which almost everybody does, or there is also a monthly payment plan if that makes it more affordable for you. My goal is that this is about $5,000 for the course, right? That you will hopefully before the course is over have saved yourself far more than $5,000 in potential business mistakes that you would have made. And I found that to be true for most of the people that are participating in the class. They feel like initially it's like $5,000 is kind of a lot of money, but by the time the class is over, I think we have pretty, global satisfaction that people have gotten their money's worth out of this whole thing. We did one other thing I'll just mention as I'm wrapping up here, which is we started a group. So when we were 2 years ago, when we were going through the vetting process, there is a group of IFM faculty that were paid to take my class by IFM, analyze it, critique it, and help us adjust and rebuild it a little bit. And then in April, we had a group of IFM faculty that signed up for the class. They just wanted to actually take the class because they all want to work on their business. And we just finished with that group last month. And so we have some really wonderful stories to tell from that group. We've gotten permission from all those doctors as well to talk about it. So, basically we had about, for the IFM faculty course, I was expecting 5 or 6 people. We ended up with 32. We ended up with 32 doctors, nurse practitioners, PAs. Some of them were acupuncturists that were working within the faculty's clinic. We had a series of office managers that were in that group as well. So it's 32 people from all different stripes working together, and that was a really fun and interesting group. And so I also found and learned from that group that so some practitioners that don't want to take this course, they may send their office manager to do it. They may send a junior practitioner who's in their clinic to do it. There's a lot of different ways that you can start to work on the business. It doesn't have to involve the primary practitioner's time solely. We want to make sure that your time is well respected. Okay, let's see another question here. Do the weekly webinars run about an hour or longer? Yeah, so the weekly webinars are usually around an hour. We answer every question, or I answer every question and go over every situation. So sometimes they get a little bit longer, but usually we wrap things up by an hour. And the groups are small, so there's never a sense like everyone gets to say everything they want every week. Let me put it that way. We basically, it somehow magically works out. If there's a large number of people that sign up for a given class and it starts to fill up, we'll just open up a separate time. Oh, and the times are important too. So I think for the group that we're starting now, the time that we meet live is going to be Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. California time, which would be 12 noon East Coast time, which hopefully means that if you're in the UK, it's a realistic class that you could actually be in that group. Maybe not so easy for the Australians and whatnot, but all right, I think we're good then. And again, I'm available to talk one-on-one. If you have questions, please, just schedule a time. I have doctor call times every Monday and Thursday. Mark Herbert is also assisting me in this effort. He knows a lot about the course, and he's been with me for about a dozen years, knows all about the different training programs that we do. We have the My Practice Plan course starting right now in November. On November 12th, we'll have the one-year mentorship class starting as well, which is more about clinical application and patient education stuff. The way that I think about the difference in the classes is my practice plan is really about all the back office things, how you set up and run the clinic, the business models, the types of patients you want to attract, just planning everything out so your clinic is successful from a practice building, practice management perspective. And then the mentorship is more about what you do in the front office in your clinic room with the patient, how to interpret labs, how to communicate labs to patients, how to get patients to do all these things that we want them to do, and the sort of lab analytics and patient communication skills is what the mentorship is about. A lot of practitioners take both of them eventually. It's kind of your call as to which one seems like it's most appropriate. Also, you can set up a phone call with me and talk about it, because I'll always try to steer you in the direction. I had a doctor this morning excuse me, that I talked to. He's already running an interdisciplinary clinic with MDs, PTs, chiropractors, nutritionists. I mean, he has a huge clinic that he's running. He's a very successful business person. Didn't make a lot of sense for him to take the business class. He was more interested in the clinical application and lab analytics class. And the exact opposite can happen. You can have a practitioner who's brand new to business, has never run their own private practice, and it's very daunting and scary to just jump out and do that by yourself. And for those folks, the My Practice Plan class, I think, is really a good fit. Okay. Um, Yeah, so Royce is asking about filling out a, a release. Yes, there is a procedure. If you're signing up for the class, there's a release form, and I'll make sure that my staff reaches out to you, Royce, tomorrow, and gets you all sorted out on that. And I'm sure there's a bunch of emails that we send out anyways, but I'll make sure they kind of focus on you and get it all signed up. And so in the first week, first of all, it's kind of complicated. The software program that I built is pretty complicated, so it takes practitioners usually a week or two to get familiar with everything that we're doing. Probably takes you another week or two to just kind of learn your way around the community and all the features that we have. So there's always a little bit of technical stuff in the beginning, but my staff is there full time to kind of get you the email sign-ups and get you the release forms. And as long as you're reading your emails carefully from us, it works out pretty well. But you might have to stop and read through things a few times. And if not, if you can't figure it out, just ask them. They're used to that because I lose and forget everything. I often ask them to send me the same email 3 or 4 times. So they're kind of used to spaced out doctors, because that's the way I operate. I can't find anything in my inbox and I'll just say, hey, Jamie, could you send that again? So anyways, well, we're pretty user friendly on the staffing side, and try to make sure that you guys can get through this whole, practice building idea and get out there and help patients, because none of us want to be in business. This is not a business oriented group of people, but we need to be in practice successfully enough that we can help a lot of patients. All right, so I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and thank you all for joining us. We had a really great turnout today, and I hope to see or talk to some of you in class in the next week or so. Okay, take care for now. Bye for now.